Loud. All right. Hey, folks, we are coming to you from the Tracy Jones team office in Ashland, and we're beginning a series. We're going to be doing these over the course of the next weeks and months, having conversations with some of our agents, some of whom are seasoned and experienced and winning at the highest level, and others who are newer and having success perhaps in a particular aspect of their business. So today I'm joined by the lovely Christina Roberto.
Hi.
And Christina is a buyer's agent on the Tracy Jones team, and she sold 65 units last year. She helped 65 families find or sell their home, primarily find their home.
Primarily find, yeah.
And just to put that in perspective for those who aren't familiar with the kind of the data of real estate, the average agent in our kind of general area sold about 7 houses last year. So Christina effectively did 10x that. So we're going to get to know Christina a little bit for a few minutes today and kind of hear about kind of the secrets, the traits that help you to win at the highest level. So before real estate, give us a bit about your kind of professional background, kind of what led you to this point.
When I first got out of college, I was a literature major, but I got a job in tech. So I was selling computers.
Okay.
And back 25 years ago, I had not even owned a computer yet. I had a word processor. So I get my first job. It's a sales job. It's in tech.
Okay. Where was this?
This was in Columbus, but then I went to Boston and I worked in Boston, and it was a bi-coastal company. So I was in charge of the Boston office.
Okay.
In any case, when I hear people complain now that there's no women in tech, I laugh. Because I'm like, oh, you
have no idea.
Try 25 years ago, there was no women in tech.
Yeah.
Very, very, very
Truly.
few. I think I kind of cut my teeth with trying to figure out how to get people to trust me as a salesperson, because not only was I kind of going, you want someone to trust you as a salesperson, but additionally I had this other hurdle, I felt like, because I'm in there talking to a bunch of guys who are engineers. That's
probably, not to spend too much time on this, but anyone who is an outsider in an environment, whether it's I'm the only woman in the room, I'm the only minority in the room, whatever, has to be more attuned to, okay, what does it look like for me to be heard, for me to be understood, for my perspective to be valued.
Right.
So you kind of cut your teeth, so to speak, in the tech sales space.
Yes.
Did you go straight to real estate after there?
No, I didn't.
Give us the broad brushstrokes.
Then I went into retail sales. And in that, it's not retail where I was in a store, but I was the national sales manager for a couple of different places that I would sell our products into Walmart, Target, or whatever. So it was B2B, and I was selling to the buyers who then put it on the shelf.
Gotcha.
So that had a whole different set of things that I had to learn to comprehend and watch for. Body language. I really started to hone my ability to read a room. In those meetings. So I did that for like 10 years. I've been selling for like 25, 26 years. And then I went into real estate because Tracy just wasn't taking my no as an answer. So
for those of you who don't know Tracy, you'll know that she doesn't take no for an answer.
No, and it took her a solid 2 years to browbeat me into it.
that's
not even lying.
Impressive persistence. And I think
part of Mrs.
here
Jones,
we are, maybe 3 years into your career?
Well, almost 4, yeah.
When you finally said, fine, I'll do it, you were dual career for what, the first year
2
or so?
years.
2 years.
I was dual career.
Okay. Did you imagine when you first started that you would sell 65 houses?
No. Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah. Take me into that kind of that leap moment, say, okay, I think I'm going to do this. How were you thinking about things? Why did you end up
I was in sheer
relenting
panic.
and saying yes? Okay.
One of the reasons I had accepted Tracy's browbeating was that I was a little concerned about where our company was going, the one I was with at the time. And so I knew I was the last salesperson left, because everything's becoming way more, they're selling more on Amazon and things like that. So they didn't need as many salespeople. I was the last one left. So I'm reading the writing on the wall going, at some point, they're probably not going to need me either. So that enter Tracy kind of pushing me, do this. So I, for the first 2 years, I did it evenings, weekends, whatever I could. Thankfully, I worked from home though with the other job. So if I had to run out and show something in the middle of the day, I could do that. But after that ended, they did wind up eliminating my position. It's a great company, loved the people I work for, some of the smartest, most intelligent business people that I've ever been in contact with. I learned a lot. And they, felt really bad about it. And I was like, it's fine. I'm going to go sell real estate.
And then, at that point, how many houses had you sold in that previous year? Like, did you have a reasonable
30,
assurance? Okay.
35.
So it's not like, I've sold 2 houses, I hope I can do this.
Yeah,
it's like,
no.
I know I can do this.
I knew I could do it, but I was still very nervous because I am a single parent and I have 2 boys at home. And literally, if I don't sell stuff, we don't eat.
Yep.
So that was the biggest hurdle for me, was being worried about not having that every 2 weeks paycheck. I know exactly what's coming in. Yeah. So, but I also figured that my kids are 16 and 18 years old. And if there was ever a time to dive into it, now was probably the time.
Sure. So people, as you may know, get into real estate for lots of different reasons, but from lots of different backgrounds. You got people who are fresh out of high school. You got people who have a background in service, retail, food, education, like you name it. There's no one path. Yours was corporate sales, business to business. What traits, skills, habits did you gain in your 20 some odd years of sales background before real estate that have been most directly applicable to?
Well, it's always, sales is always about people.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's not at all about the product, but really very little. Okay. So what I learned over those times is how to read a room, how to look at somebody and say, okay, they're not gelling with what I'm saying. I might have to take a different tact here. That is transferable, whether you're in corporate sales, whether you're selling homes, whether you're selling makeup, whatever it is. If you as a salesperson are blind to the body language, the facial expressions of the people that you're talking to, you will be less successful.
Sure.
And that's really the bottom line. All I had to do was learn how to sell a house. Versus I didn't have to learn sales skills.
Yes.
And part of those skills were that I constantly know from all my jobs that you have to be prompt. You have to call people back. You can't wait, till the next day. You have to do what you say you're going to do first and foremost. So if I say, I'm going to get back to you by end of business today, that needs to happen.
Sure. So there's boilerplate, being a professional, which may
showing up on time.
Sound simple, but there's a whole lot of people in this industry that
who are not,
don't answer their phone. They don't get back with you. They don't show up when they say they'll show up. And so you came from an environment where, like, no, you had to do that. Like, in order to thrive, you had to, I'm showing up and I'm business to business sales. There's no flakiness allowed in that environment.
No. So and I'm usually flying out someplace out of state. I'm going there for this meeting. I'm not going to be late. I need to be prepared when I get there. I'm not going to just show up and be like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I have a presentation. I have things to talk about.
Right.
And that I do carry to real estate.
I'm coming to play rather than I'm just coming to get together with someone, which a lot of people, I like houses. And you're saying, okay, those things may be true of me.
They're super important.
But I have I'm here to be a professional, to put my best foot forward and to win. I'd love to zoom in a bit more on the intuition, reading people. So obviously, we talk about the DISC personality profile. We don't need to zoom deep on that, but obviously people are wired differently. Some people are more assertive. Some people are more detail oriented. Some people are fun loving and just want to catch up. Some people are afraid of change. How do you approach reading someone? I don't know. And what does that mean for how you respond to them once you have a kind of a sense?
Well, once I'm in front of them and I'm at a house, usually you're dealing with husbands, wives. There might be boyfriend, girlfriend. There's usually more than one person purchasing the home. So not only the first thing you have to kind of figure out is who's really making the decision here. is the husband, I'm going to
Mhm.
use husband and wife just because that's the
Sure.
example I'm using, but is the husband the end decision maker? Is the wife the end decision
Mhm.
maker? So I just start talking to them. I
Mhm.
ask them about their life. Do they have kids? Blah, blah, blah. And then once they're talking, I can start to get a feel of who's running the show.
Mhm.
And I'm not just asking them that because that's my only aim, right?
Mhm.
It's byproduct of me getting to know my clients better.
Sure. Sure.
When I get to know them, then I get an understanding of exactly what they're looking for. Sometimes they think they want one thing, but I can tell by the conversation that's not really what they want.
Mhm.
So I do a lot of listening,
Mhm.
and I do talk because they often have questions and I'm going to answer all of those.
Sure.
But when they're talking, I'm listening.
Mhm.
I'm not on my phone. I'm not thinking about where do I have to go next. When I get out of the car and I'm at an appointment, I am if it's you, I am with you.
Yep.
And the phone doesn't get answered. I'm not doing text messages, none of that. I am
Mhm.
paying attention to what Mark wants and needs.
Mhm.
Then I can see, okay, he's responding to what I'm saying.
Mhm.
So I'm on a good track here. Or he looks like he's unsure. So at that point, I might say, you look a little unsure. Talk to me about what you're feeling right now.
Sure. So there is you're not just digesting information and tucking it away just for your information.
Correct.
You will kind of say, hey, here's what I'm observing. Here's what
Yeah.
I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
Kind of bring that into the
Yeah.
relationship.
And then I tell people once I've been with them a little while, I say,
Mhm.
look, I always say this. I am not here to just sell you a house.
Mhm.
I am here to be your real estate agent,
Mhm.
not just for this transaction, but should you buy any other, or I want you to feel comfortable. I will tell them, I want you to feel comfortable giving my name to your friends.
Mm.
I will start saying things
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
So
Just press a pause there. Everybody knows that this is a referral-based business, but a lot of people feel weird about when do I ask for the referral? How do I do that? That's a great way of just, she is planting that seed through the lens of this is something I want to provide the level of care so that you would want to do this.
right.
Maybe teeing up the opportunity for you to later be
Later,
more direct
yes,
in asking
exactly.
for it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm not asking, I'm just saying my aim is to be your real estate agent for the ongoing future.
Mhm.
And so what I want to do is do the best I can for you. And
Mhm.
that means that if this is not the house for you, that's fine. We'll look
Yep.
at 50 houses if that's what we need to do.
Mhm.
I don't care which one you buy. I
Mhm.
care that you're happy. So and the other thing I talk about is we can all tell when we get into a house and they love it, you can see there's something on their face, right?
Mhm.
It's like, you can see themselves imagining their life there.
Mhm.
When I see that look, I know that's the house.
Mhm.
This is the one.
So let's talk mechanics for a minute. A lot of times people are meeting someone for the first time at a showing. It's very like, oh, it's a house-based relationship
Sure,
at that
sure.
point. Is your reading them, question asking them kind of just as we happen to be looking at a house together, or is it hey, can we chat for 20 minutes now that we've seen a house or two?
It depends on the situation.
Okay.
So if we're kind of all gelling and I can tell that this just isn't the house and we're going to keep going or
Mhm.
whatever, and they seem very focused and seem to understand what it is they're looking for,
Yep.
I will not have that conversation.
Mhm.
If I have husband going one direction, wife going the other direction, they're kind of not, we're flailing around with what we really want, I will
Mhm.
say, okay, we're here. We don't like this house. Let's sit and talk about what is most important to you and to your wife. And what are the things that are the same in those? And those are the
Mhm.
things we really need to look at in a home so that both
Mhm.
of you are happy.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, because learning who the decision maker is, but then also oftentimes, at least if HGTV is true, that people have different opinions.
They
She wants
do.
the cottage in the woods, and he wants the urban setting, and obviously that's.
And don't be afraid to ask them, if he has differing views from what he wants from what she
Mhm.
wants, I'll say, okay, how are we going to find a house that both of you like?
Mhm.
You want, you want land and a big yard. She really doesn't want to be saddled with that. She wants a big house and she wants some of these inside amenities. How are we going to find something that will make you both happy?
Mhm.
And I let them answer that question.
Sure. Mhm.
Instead of me trying to say, you need this, you have to have this, I
Yes.
can tell you want this. I want them to talk to each other
Yes.
and figure out as a couple or roommates or whatever it is, partner,
Yep.
what are we looking for here collectively? What can we decide on?
Gary Keller will say that the most successful people ask the best questions, and the best questions are the ones that you already know the answer to.
Right.
And so as you're building that rapport, you may be queuing them up with an open-ended question. You're like, I think this is probably the direction that we're going to go.
Right.
But you're giving them agency in that relationship, which doesn't just give them clarity, but that increases their level of attachment to you. Oh, she really cares. She really values our opinion.
Yeah. And I always tell them, it's your decision. These decisions are yours to make. I'm here to guide you, to help you, to answer your questions, to make you feel comfortable with this process. But you are in the driver's seat. You make these decisions. They need to be things that you're happy with, not what you think I'm happy with or what you think your friends will like or your parents. That's a good one, because sometimes we get younger folks and their parents are really like, well, you have to do this, and this. And the parents are way off base. I know that because I'm a parent, so I do it. So you need to make your decision for you and what makes you happy.
Yep.
And that's all I care about. I don't care about how much the house costs. I don't care if it's a $30,000 house. I don't care if it's a $300,000 house. I want you to walk into the house and I want to see this look on your face that tells me this is it.
Yeah.
And until I see that, we're going to keep looking.
Yep. How, so for those of you who don't know, this has been a crazy market, and it's been a crazy market for the last year and a half or two, but being on the buy side is exhausting.
Yes.
And you're seeing more houses and writing more offers. And yet you're talking about, hey, we're not done till we're done. Right. I think the temptation for a lot of people is to say, like, how do we get this done? Because I'm just overwhelmed and I'm exhausted. I'm working harder than ever. How do you balance those things with providing the standard of care that you value with, hey, you just help 65 families in 1 year? That could come in tension a little bit.
Yeah, it does. I mean, usually, I hate to say this, usually I'm the person that has no life just because I'm doing all of that for them. So that's something I'm working on this year, is to better balance that within myself. But last year I basically, partly I wasn't working the other job anymore. So I was like, I have to sell as much as humanly possible because I'm nervous about not having that. You needed to prove to yourself. Correct.
As a solo.
Yeah. Like I can do this with the training wheels off, I guess. It was how I looked at it. So I just punched through and just work. Now, we've talked about it about November, right around Thanksgiving. I'd had about enough. Yeah. Literally called Tracy and said, I'm done working this year, which she laughed at because she knows me.
And she'd already hit her goals for the year at that point.
I had hit my goals. And she's like, haha, that's funny. I know you better than that. Yeah. So I didn't stop working, but I definitely kind of took my foot off the accelerator. And I needed to, because I was really just getting burned out. So it's hard to sell that many houses and not get burned out.
Yep. Well, and I think that's not uncommon. This is a hills and valleys sort of business. And yet you can only run that hard for so long. Beyond the reading, well, actually, no, let me stay there and then we'll move on. So I don't have 26 years of corporate sales background. I'm not a highly intuitive person. How, Christina, would you encourage me to sharpen that skill if I'm new and I'm wanting to get better at kind of reading people? What are things that I could do to grow in those ways?
So you can do it through your showings. But one of the best ways to practice is just with your friends and family. Okay. Bring up a conversation with a friend or a family member that isn't something you've ever talked about with them before. And then watch their body language as you go through the conversation. Are they leaning in? Are they interested in the conversation? If somebody's like this, that's a big, huge sign of I either don't like what I hear or I don't want to talk about this. So if they're leaning in and they're engaged and they're talking to you, those are all positive signs. When even if they're standing up, if they're back on their heels, even if they don't know it, they're saying, I'm uncomfortable with this discussion. So if you want, I would say practice on your friends and family, maybe even your children, whatever you want to do, depending how old they are. If they're old enough to have a conversation, an adult conversation, that's
stuffed
great.
Animals,
we don't talk about stuffed animals with 2-year-olds. But anyway, so watch for those cues and then be mindful in all of your conversations, not just business ones.
Mhm.
Everybody's been in a party where somebody's going on and on about an uncomfortable situation. Everybody's uncomfortable and they just are oblivious to the whole thing.
Right.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
It's not good for your business.
You and I have talked off camera about not just understanding them, but as you then understand them, mirroring, kind of modeling your behavior or your tone
Right.
after them. Talk a little bit about how that works.
So if I have folks who are boisterous and outgoing and they're laughing and giggling, I'm going to be doing a lot more of that, which those are my favorite people. They should be everybody's favorite people because it makes your job fun. So
Christina's
enjoy that.
Italian.
Yeah, I talk with my hands a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Enjoy those people. Now,
Mhm.
then conversely, if you have someone who's more quiet, more methodical, they're thinking a lot about things, let them have the space to do that.
Mhm.
Don't talk over their thought process. Even
Yeah.
if they're not talking, it doesn't mean it's your turn.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes they're thinking about something you just said or something they saw. Let them have the space to do that. So
Mhm.
take a step back, not out, a step back, and let them have the space to process that.
Mhm.
Where it gets really interesting is when you have two people, one's one way, the other one's the other way. So a lot of times I'll take the verbal person kind of out of the space of the more quiet person, and I will chat with them.
So that person
I
who may be the
distract them.
decision maker or not,
Whether or not they are,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. I'm distracting them so that their partner can think.
Mhm.
But I pay attention so I even know to do that.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
I'm talking over the thinker, that doesn't allow them opportunity to come to their own decision.
Yeah. And I think the temptation, particularly when you're newer and less experienced, can be, we're just talking about the house. Or this is just a feature sort of conversation, but really, and this is your initial point, this is a people business. And if you're not able to care well for people, which comes from building a trust relationship, which comes from understanding them, then it doesn't matter how well you know the house or how well you know the mechanicals or whatever.
Right. A great example is I was at a house a couple weeks ago, and the seller did not want to leave, which is fine. But she was like one of those that was just going to follow us around and yip yap in everybody's ear. And I needed to nip that in the bud because I could tell my clients were getting a little frustrated.
Yeah.
So at one point I said, "Hey, can I get a glass of water?" Took the seller to the kitchen, and then I let her talk my ear off while my clients finished looking at the house in peace and quiet.
Smart.
And when we walked out, it was funny because my clients started giggling. They're like, "We saw what you did there." I'm like, "Well, she was irritating you and I could tell, so I needed to remove her." In a way that wasn't, yes. So those are the things you have to look at.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes when you're having a busy day and you're trying to get to the next appointment and you're looking at your time schedule going, "Oh gosh, I'm so rushed." It's okay to be rushed before you walk into that appointment. It's okay to be rushed after you walk out. It is not okay to be rushed in the middle of it.
Right. Yep. Totally. The more present you can be, the people that we like the most, that we're most drawn to, because we're selfish people, those people are the ones who make us feel the most special.
They make you feel special.
Man, when I'm with Christina, I just feel like, man, I matter to her. Right. And you do that by paying attention. If you're, on your phone 2/3 of the time, they're not going to feel that.
And I have many clients say to me, "Oh yeah, I always forget you have other clients." Like if I have to say, "I can't do it at this time because I already have an appointment," they'll giggle and be like, "Oh, I totally forgot you have other clients." That is a compliment to me. I take that as a compliment.
Yep. I feel as though I'm the only one that you've got.
Right.
Based upon the level of care.
Which is a double-edged sword sometimes. Sometimes you get one that
because the boundaries
and then you have to be able to put your foot down and say, "Okay, this is the time I can give you. That's it. I'm sorry."
Yep.
So
boundaries can sometimes feel like no, but really what it is no. Either my time is valuable or there's other people's time who's also valuable. And this is just something.
And if you say it like that, "Hey, I have these other appointments and these people," I might make something up and say,
"Sure,
these people really have been struggling finding a house. So I really need to go show them this." And usually when I say something like that,
people
the person's like, "Oh gosh, yeah, I totally get it. Call me later."
Yep.
So
totally. Anything else, whether reading people or tips and tricks? I want to be conscious of time.
Always get up in the morning. I always get up in the morning and I know that there are certain things that are going to happen in the day. real estate is very, I mean, you don't know where it's going to take you today
Yep.
most of the time.
Yep.
But there are some basic things that I do every day.
Mhm.
I make sure I'm calling my clients. I make sure I'm communicating with them. If they
Mhm.
want only text, I'll do only text. I don't prefer that because it's really hard to gauge somebody's response from writing. So
Yep.
especially if I'm going to have a conversation that may be bothersome to them,
Yep.
that is a phone call. That is not a text message.
Yep.
And I will call them and say, I need to speak with you. They'll say, oh no, let's text. I'm like, no, when is a good time to talk? Delivering, I don't want to say bad news, but
Yeah.
something sensitive information, or even bad news. Like, hey, I don't send my clients text messages if we didn't win an offer. I call them because I need to gauge their reaction. Are they like, okay, no problem, we'll find another one, or are they super upset about it? And I have to kind of walk them through getting them ready to look again.
When in doubt, talk.
Correct.
Yeah.
And if you have to send a text message that's a mile long, you should have picked up the phone.
Right. No, that's a good reminder. It can be tempting when in busy days just to send the quick text. And I fall into this.
I do too, especially with talk to text.
Yeah.
You're just talking, and next thing you know, you look at your friend like, oh my God, that was like this long. That was ridiculous.
Totally.
So pick up the phone and have a 2-minute conversation. You can accomplish more in 2-minute conversation than you can in 2 hours of back and forth text.
Right. And it deepens the relationship, which is key theme. Well, Christina, thank you. For those who want to get a hold of you, find you on Facebook. Is that the best
you can find me on Facebook, and you can call the Tracy Jones team and someone will put you in touch with me. Mark has my number. If you have his number and you want to talk to me, you can call him.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks, Christina. All right.